Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I am not a scientist. I'm here today to tell you a story, a personal story about my mum, and a story about my mum with Alzheimer's. So many of you will know that mums are great, right? We all love our mums. My mum was fantastic as well. She did everything. She was old-fashioned in that sense that, you know, my mum did the shopping, the cleaning, she booked the holidays, she bought the clothes, she organised us for school. She did everything for us. Not to say my dad was lazy. My dad was the DIY man. But we were so reliant on our mum. In terms of how I describe my mum as ambitious. You know, she was really hardworking. She was actually a physio. She ran a physio team at our local hospital, Stockport Hospital. But she was really, really competitive as well. So my mum used to play squash, and she used to play squash a lot, and that used to really annoy my dad. So every, 2 or 3 nights a week, my mum would be playing squash, to the point where my dad said, "Look, enough is enough. I think you should give up squash, and you should come and play golf with me." And that made a lot of sense in a number of ways, so that they could play golf together, right up until the day that my mum beat my dad at golf, and then it didn't work. But my mum and dad always wanted my brother and I to settle down, and it did take a while. It took a while for me to find the right one, and I'll say that because she sat at the back there, so best say she is the one. But it took me a while. But she, like many people, she desperately wanted grandchildren. Unfortunately, it took my wife and I quite a long time to, having got married, to have children. We had 4 rounds of IVF, and it wasn't until the 4th round that we went for a scan. And I remember the day where the lady said, "Yep, and there's the heartbeat." And then she said, "And there's the other heartbeat." So we had twins, which was amazing. And I remember the day we called them up and gave them the news, and it was fantastic. But it was about that time when my mum started to notice herself that things were becoming a little bit confused. So just some little signs where she was forgetting certain things. She was struggling. The main thing my mum found was she was struggling to find the words or names. They were the key signs. And it was during my wife's pregnancy that became more obvious. Now, I remember the day that we phoned up my mum to give her the news that she had the grandchildren. It was a boy and a girl, Charlie and Isabella, who were both sat at the back there as well. And they were over the moon, right? But there was a tinge of sadness because we kind of knew at that point my mum had been formally diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and we could see it was progressing. But it was strange that we my brother and I particularly, kind of didn't really understand what it was about. And you kind of always associate it with older people, really older people, and maybe they're just a bit confused. And my mum at that time had only just retired. So we didn't kind of know what to expect. And you kind of go, "Oh, I'll be fine," right? Because it'll be a few years yet, it'll be fine. She's just a bit forgetful, it'll be fine. It wasn't until we took our children, our babies, up to my mum and dad's house for the first time. And we were really looking forward to showing them and spending a bit of time with the parents, but also to get a night off, right? Because they decided to give us a night over in Chester so we could actually get some sleep. And the next morning, it's when we came back, and my dad said, "That's going to have to be the last time that you leave your kids with us," because my mum couldn't cope. She couldn't change the nappy. She didn't know how to put the nappy on. And that for me was probably the biggest moment for us. That was a sign that my mum was really ill. And really from then on, it really got progressively worse. So, and it was really difficult for my dad. So I say it was little things. It was lots of things. But it was things like she couldn't settle. And many people who know people who've got dementia, maybe this will be something that's familiar, that my dad would sit and watch television. So my mum would come and sit down, and she'd sit there for 2 minutes, and then she'd be back up. She'd be wandering off doing something. My dad would go and get her, ask her what's going on, and she goes, "Don't know." and then she'd come and sit down. And the other thing, the way that my mum dealt with it, which was particularly hard for all of us, was the fact that she stayed quiet. So her way of dealing with not finding words, because she was kind of aware, and therefore she found it really, really frustrating when she couldn't find the words. So the way she dealt with it was just stay quiet. So when they'd come and stay with us, my mum just wouldn't speak. Even though you would try and engage her in conversation, she just didn't respond. And that was heartbreaking for us all, but it was really heartbreaking for my dad, because he'd so longed to retire and spend time with my mum, because they were active. They used to go walking, they play golf, as I said. And it was just really tough for them, finally to be retired, and then my mum is struggling in the way that she was. And like I said, mum it was really aggressive form of Alzheimer's. So in a couple of years, she was markedly different. And my dad, he would be the first to say he's not the most patient of people. And therefore, he really, really struggled. He decided he had to care for my mum because it's his wife. Nobody else should care for her. He should. That's his job as a husband. But you could tell he found it really, really, really difficult, because, my mum would just do strange things, and she wouldn't settle. It was just really difficult for him. And particularly, as I said, because my mum did everything. So all of a sudden, my dad is having to iron. He's having to figure out what clothes to dress my mum in. He's got to figure out how to cook. He's doing the cleaning. It was all the things that my mum did that my dad was having to learn. And he did really well, I have to say. He did an amazing job. But we decided one weekend to give him a break. And he finally agreed to get a carer in for the weekend so that she could look after my mum, and we give my dad a break. So my dad came down to stay with us. He had a good couple of days where he would just kind of offload to us about the frustrations and the fact that he felt really guilty because he was losing his temper with her, just because he got so frustrated, and he just felt really guilty about that because he knows he's not patient, but he couldn't help himself. But it was on that weekend that we got the phone call to say that my mum had a fall. She had an infection. So my dad went back, and unfortunately my mum couldn't, because of the infection, she couldn't keep her balance. So she was taken into hospital to get some treatment. She was in there for a few weeks because despite them treating the infection, my mum still just wasn't able to balance. And it was during that time that my dad and the family, we all decided that it was time that she needed proper care and that my dad couldn't look after her anymore, particularly because she wasn't mobile. So we took the hard decision to put her into a home. And it was probably a few weeks after she was admitted that we got the phone call. And we got the phone call to say she'd passed. So on the one hand, it was really upsetting for us as a family, but on the other hand, we did say maybe it was a blessing, because the moments of clarity that my mum had, you could tell this wasn't the life she wanted. And in the hospital, she was refusing food. Now, I don't think that was Alzheimer's to this day. We all felt that was my mum saying, that's enough. That's enough. I've had enough. And as hard as that is, you know what? I look back and think, thankfully, she didn't suffer too long. And maybe, she's in a better place. So, it's been, it was a tough time. We gave her a good send-off. And that just showed the respect and the friendship that she had with so many people. But also enables us to think back really, about the mum as she was, not the mum that she became. And that's why I do these things today, because it gives me an opportunity to share her story with you, with other people. I like talking about my mum. I like thinking about my mum. I'm a fundraiser for Alzheimer's. So I do marathons and ultramarathons, which gives me plenty of time to think of things. And I often have a little chat to my mum as I'm walking. I'm not religious particularly, but I always think it's nice just to have a little chat to my mum as I'm running, and that's the way I remember her. So I just wanted to I just wanted to share a poem with you, actually, which was the title of it. Excuse me for the phone. I'm not making a phone call. But I just wanted to read this poem to you because I think it's quite relevant and it resonates a lot with me. So this is a poem called Two Mothers Remembered by Joann Duncanson. I had two mothers I claim, two different people, yet with the same name. Two separate women, diverse by design, but I loved them both because they were mine. The first was the mother who carried me here, gave birth and nurtured and launched my career. She was the one whose features I bear, complete with the facial expressions I wear. She gave me her love, which follows me yet, along with examples in life that she set. As I get older, she somehow younger grew, and we'd laugh as just mothers and sons do. But then came the time that her mind clouded so, and I sensed that the mother I knew would soon go. So quickly she changed and turned into the other, a stranger dressed in the clothes of my mother. Oh, she looked the same, at least at arm's length. But now she was the child, and I was her strength. And if my own children should come to a day when a new father comes and the old goes away, I'd ask of them nothing that I didn't do. Love both of your fathers, both have loved you. Thank you for listening, and thank you for letting me tell my story.